What is up, my people? My name is Stifflered, and welcome back to the cafe, where we talk about tools, tips, and tricks to take your Minecraft creations to the next level. Today, we are back on the interview island for the Friends of the Server podcast, episode number 7. And as always, I have a special guest for you all to hear me interview today. And it's a pretty good one, I gotta tell you. AlexzanderFlores is my guest today, and he comes with a lot of experience in this Minecraft game. He got started a few years ago, and he has been involved with a number of YouTubers, and now has a server that just launched this past week. And we get to talking about some of the business details that are involved with running a Minecraft server, but I'm going to save all the rest of my commentary for later when you guys get to listen in on that interview. If this is your first time listening in on the Friends of the Server Minecraft podcast, I welcome you sincerely, and I'm glad to have you here. You could subscribe if you enjoy this type of content, where we talk with other creators, YouTubers, and server owners and get their thoughts and advice about how to run a successful Minecraft server on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and even on YouTube. So if you enjoy that content, go ahead and subscribe, and definitely like and leave me a comment or a review, and some of those great comments and reviews might just be featured in some future episodes. Of course, I couldn't get this podcast rolling without the support of all of you who are sponsors of mine over on the Patreon page, patreon.com/Stifflered, and this past week has seen an explosion of new patrons that I am super excited about. I want to welcome A. Regner, Moose Crazy, Shean, Muscat, and Anthony Rossback of NodeHost, all for becoming patrons of this podcast, of the channel, and of my Minecraft server. So thank you all so much. You help keep the lights on, the internet bills paid, and you know, just keeping things going strong and having fun. If you'd like to become a patron and help support this podcast, or if you would like to just learn more about the podcast and become possibly a guest on a future episode, see the past episodes, or even suggest that I interview somebody else, head over to friendsoftheserver.com and you can find out everything that you need to know about this podcast, future and past episodes, and what it takes to become a sponsor of this podcast. I try to come out with new episodes interviewing a different guest and covering different subjects every single week. So if you would like to subscribe, you can do so on any podcast streaming service that you can think of. But if for some reason I've missed one, go ahead and let me know. Send me a message on Discord, Twitter, or in an email, and I will be happy to get my podcast on the streaming service that you enjoy the most. Just a heads up for those of you who are watching from YouTube, at the end of this interview, I'm actually going to hop on over and give you guys a sneak peek at AlexzanderFlores' new server, Opal Gaming MC. And you'll be able to see some of the features and some of the gameplay over there. Unfortunately, it's not something that I can really show in an audio-only podcast. So if you're listening on Google Play, iTunes, or iHeartRadio, any of those other ones, you will need to either head to friendsoftheserver.com to see some of the screenshots that I take, or head to YouTube and watch this episode there so that you can see some of those features from Opal Gaming MC's new Minecraft server. Anyway, guys, that is all that I have for you right now in the pre-show. I appreciate you all watching. I'm so glad that you're all here, and I think that you will enjoy this episode. Let's head on over to the interview island. What is up, my people? Welcome back to the interview island. It is time to interview another one of our guests today, and this gentleman actually has a big new project that he is working on and quite a lot of experience to share with all of you today. But I'm not going to tell you any of the details about what he is doing. I'm going to let him tell you himself. His name, of course, is AlexzanderFlores. Mr. AlexzanderFlores, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing pretty good.
Great, great, great. Thanks so much for being here on the Interview Island and for the Friends of the Server podcast. It's great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, hey, let's dive right into this, and we're gonna get started on a little project here in just a second. But before we even head over and start on that project, as you guys know, during these podcasts and the Interview Island, we like to build something, to go for the guest. But we're gonna start on that in a second. But Alexzander, if you don't mind, can you just tell people who you are and what it is that you do in Minecraft and what this big project is that you're working on?
Yeah, so I've been a software developer for around 10 years, and so when I got into Minecraft and I saw that there was an opportunity for writing your own plugins, so I started doing that. And so I've been writing Minecraft plugins, working on other servers, working on my own, and doing just general development stuff in Minecraft.
Very cool. So when did you get started with developing Minecraft plugins?
In early 2013.
2013. Nice. So it's been quite a while. And through that, you've gotten quite a bit of experience. And I know that you also have just recently launched a new server. What is that new server all about?
So I did have one server a few years ago, and it did close down, but some of the old community members reached out to me, and there was enough demand to encourage me to try and bring it back. So we're basically bringing back an old server that I used to have. And so that just launched this weekend, actually.
Fantastic. Congratulations on the launch. That's exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
What's the name of the server?
The server is now called Opal Gaming.
Opal Gaming. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Check that out. Check out Opal Gaming. In fact, there's going to be some links down in the description for you guys to go and follow Alexzander and Opal Gaming. But right now we're going to get into this. So we have a little project. What we're going to do today, I've already given Alexzander some tools that we can use, and we're going to head back down into the pits, into the mines. And if you're watching on YouTube, you will get to see the progress that we make today. We're going to expand out this nether portal area. But if you are listening on Google Play or Spotify, iTunes, or iHeartRadio or elsewhere, then you can check out the description for a link to the website where I will post screenshots of what we build today. So, all right, Alexzander, I guess we can probably just get started mining around and clearing all of this out while I ask you a few more questions.
Sounds good to me.
Cool. So you said that your server actually it's an older one. It was one that you had before, and you have just only recently brought it back because of the demand. What was that original server?
It was called ProMC Games, something that was started in early 2014 and then closed down at the start of 2016. And that was like my first serious attempt at trying to grow a larger Minecraft server.
Cool. And when you say your first serious attempt, had you tried some other servers before that?
Yeah, before that, I was a developer on a few larger networks. Then also I tried to create a server before that called The Pond, which was partnered with Current Plays MC. And it kind of had an intention to be a larger server, but we just didn't have the practical experience in order to actually make that a reality. So it was mostly a hobby project, in my opinion. But then some of the experience I gained from that led me to make ProMC Games afterwards, and then that went reasonably well.
Nice. And you mentioned Kermit Plays MC. That's the YouTuber?
Yep.
I think you mentioned this to me before. You've actually worked with a couple of YouTubers besides Kermit Plays.
Yeah.
And can you tell me about that experience a little bit? I think that people might be interested.
Yeah, so before I started actually making my own servers, I was a developer on a few different YouTuber servers. I've worked with Zek, who was someone a long time ago. I'm not sure if they're still too popular these days, but Sunday, I worked with him for a few months. I worked with Kermit, as I just said, and then I worked with a lot of YouTubers past that through like branding deals and stuff for my other servers. But yeah, I typically would just reach out to these YouTubers or go through my existing contacts who worked with them and then ask them if they needed a developer and then would talk from there and would work on their server.
Nice. And were these like temporary contract type deals or were these more long-term?
I think they had the intention to be long-term, but the servers didn't typically last more than like 6 months or so.
I got you. I got you. Yeah, that happens. Things change. Plans evolve over time. And I know personally from doing YouTube myself that sometimes you have these great ideas that just don't really work out. But you mentioned that you did some work with Sunday? Like,
yep.
The Sunday?
It was a long time ago when he only had 300,000 subscribers.
Oh.
So I was basically just the lead developer, the only developer actually, on one of the first servers he tried to make. And that was a long time ago, and I didn't fully know how to develop things that well. So it was kind of laggy and all that, but it was a great learning experience.
Well, very cool. That's crazy. The way that you said that was yup, and when he only had 300,000 subscribers.
Well, yeah, I mean, compared to now.
Compared to now, right?
Like, yeah, 300,000 is a lot of subscribers, and definitely nothing to be like, yeah, only 300,000. But like compared to now.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I got you. So, those experiences that you had with those YouTubers, what did that teach you? What was like the biggest lesson that you learned from those experiences that makes you believe that you are set up for success today?
Probably how to manage my time more efficiently, because honestly, that was the actual first job I had, was working with these YouTubers. And so I wasn't fully prepared for that. But after going through like working with those YouTubers a few different times, I understood, how to manage my time correctly and how to make sure everything is quality and all that stuff. And so whenever I'm working on stuff now, I try and think about, if I was working for someone right now, would they be happy with the work I'm doing? Because I'm essentially my own boss at this point. And so it just kind of taught me to expect quality, because whenever I presented something that wasn't quality, they sent me back was like, do it better. So I think that'd be the main thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And now you work for yourself, but do you have a team that works with you on this new server?
No, I have a couple of people that help me out, but when it comes to development and managing like the actual servers and all that stuff, I do that pretty much myself.
Gotcha.
But I do have a few people that are helping out with like community events and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Now, you mentioned that there was quite a bit of demand to bring back your server. What kind of demand are we talking? Like you had, 5 people that reached out to you, or 100,000?
Well, it started off with someone randomly messaging me on Twitter saying, how many retweets to bring Pro MC games back? And I replied with 500,000, just basically me saying I'm not interested in doing that. And then I saw that got a couple dozen retweets. So I was curious to what would happen if I actually replied with a realistic number. So I said 350, and that got around 150 retweets or so. But I realized that almost half of them were bots. So I was like, that doesn't count. Mm-hmm. So I decided to make a Discord, and we were doing a rank giveaway for whoever can invite the most players that used to play on Pro MC. And we got around 370 people in 10 days, which was very surprising to me. So I decided, okay, I guess there's enough demand here to try and bring it back. And so we just recently launched this weekend.
Yeah, that is, 370 is nothing to sneeze at or shake a stick at. That's quite a few people. Yeah. So that's really cool. Why do you think that people are so excited to join you again?
Well, a lot of the people that are coming back are some of the old active players that would spend many hours a day playing. And so I feel like, at this point, they probably miss Pro MC every now and again because, they used to be on there like 5, 6, 7 hours a day. And so as soon as there was an opportunity to voice an opinion of, yeah, I would like the server to come back, they probably jumped to that opportunity.
That's very cool. 5, 6, 7 hours a day. That's a lot of time commitment for your server. Why did people play so much on that server? What was it about Pro MC that they loved?
Well, the people I was referring to were the people who, every server has their super active players. And so those are the ones that are coming back right now. And, the server wasn't for everyone. We definitely had a lot more unique logins compared to the active players that we had. But I'm assuming that happens to every server.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's just the people who stuck around and just liked how things were made there were the people who are coming back now.
Nice. Very cool. With that first, well, I guess not your first server, but with Pro MC, what were some of the mistakes that you made? And how are you trying to prevent those mistakes today? And I know that you already mentioned as far as with your work with the YouTubers, but this specifically more interested in with Pro MC and your past server.
Well, with Pro MC, it was like I said earlier, my first attempt at an actual big server. And so before that was mostly just hobby projects. So with this one, if you're trying to create an actual big server that has hundreds, if not thousands of players, you're essentially creating a business. And I had no experience with business whatsoever. So there was a lot of mistakes there. And I feel like it all boils down to not treating it or thinking it was a business at the start and realizing that a little bit later on. And so there was a lot of things that I did that were what I thought should be correct instead of like what the players wanted, and just not interacting with the community as much as I should have. And there's like a lot of things I did wrong looking back, but it all boils down to basically I wasn't treating it as a business when it was trying to be one.
Ah, I got you. So today with this server, what are some ways that you are treating this like a business? Actually, before we get to that question, do you think that every server owner should treat their server like a business?
It depends on their intentions. If they're just looking to have, half a dozen players that are friends, like an SMP type thing, or just a casual thing that they work on in their spare time, then probably not. But if they're trying to make it like their full-time income and they're trying to grow to hundreds, if not thousands of players, then they probably should. It just depends on what their intentions are with the server.
I gotcha. So what are some things that you are doing today to treat your server more like a business?
Heavily listening to what the players want. Like beforehand, I wouldn't consult too many people before I made a change. And so whenever I made a bad decision, the players certainly let me know very angrily. But this time, like on our Discord, we have a polls channel. Any type of major change I'm about to do, I get the community's feedback on it. Because it only takes me, a couple seconds to type out a message and then have people react to it on the Discord and see, okay, certainly a bad idea, or okay, that's a good idea.
Community feedback is very important. What are some of the things that you think that your players are looking for? The new players, not those old veterans who were fans of you before. Not old veterans. I don't mean that in a slanderous way, but not the veterans that were fans before and are joining you again. But what do you think that new players will be looking for when they join your server for the first time?
It probably depends on how they found out about the server. Because if we're advertising it through a YouTuber who is playing on a specific game, then from my experience, the players who join from that YouTuber will likely just play that specific game for the most part. Is if they've joined through like a voting website or something like that, then they're probably going to be expecting however the voting website described the server. So if we're heavily pushing kit PvP, then they're probably going to join for that reason. And so they'll probably head right to that. So it just depends on how they found out about the server.
That's interesting. Are you going to track how people are finding out about the server in some way?
Yeah, another way that I'm making it so the server is more like a business is that beforehand on ProMC, I would pay a YouTuber for an advertisement, they would record, and then that would be it. But this time we're going to be tracking a lot of the numbers. Like I didn't know a lot of the numbers in terms of like conversion rates or how good the YouTuber did, or, did we make our money back? Should we use the YouTuber again? Stuff like that. And so this time we're going to be tracking a lot of the analytics on a lot of important metrics like that to better understand how to grow the server more efficiently.
Are you going to be using any special software for that?
Currently, I'm not sure. There is a couple things that I'm probably going to be writing myself, but if I find a better solution that makes sense financially to use, then I'll probably be using that. But at the moment, I'm not sure.
I got you. There's a lot of commentary about hiring YouTubers to do like sponsored videos of a server. Is that going to be the main way that you handle your advertisements, or is there another method that you can use for advertising, or that you're going to prioritize over using YouTubers?
So YouTubers are the only way I advertise ProMC, and that got us to around 350 active players in its prime. So we're definitely going to be doing that again. However, since I've closed ProMC back in 2016, I've learned a lot about paid advertising through social media. And so we're trying to do some YouTube pre-roll ads, some Twitter ads and stuff like that. And that allows us to track who's joining from what advertisement campaign a lot better. And so we're going to be trying to optimize that as much as possible.
Interesting. So you're actually going to purchase ads, like not necessarily on a Minecraft server list website, but on Google itself, or maybe even Twitter or Facebook or something.
Yeah, like so the ads that you see when scrolling through your Twitter feed, or the ads that you see before a YouTube video, stuff like that, isn't as expensive as people think if you do it right, especially because there's no like there's no minimum amount you have to pay. It's not like you have to pay like $1,000 a month minimum. Like you can start off by testing just like a $5 a day ad and see how that goes. And then you can look at all the data and optimize it from there. And so that's something we're going to be heavily focusing on.
That's really interesting. What kind of budget, if you don't mind sharing, what kind of budget do you think that a new server should have, and what do you think that you're going to have with Opal Gaming?
It depends. It's like with the YouTuber side of things, if you're a new server, then you probably don't want to go and get someone that's going to get 100,000 views per video, because then you haven't like stress tested your server, and they're going to get a lot of players on, and then it could break, like so the server could crash, and then that is essentially just wasted money right there, because no one's going to rejoin. But when it comes to someone who is like scaled up their advertising, so try with like someone who gets 5,000 views and then 10,000, then 40,000, and saw how the server performs, then it really just depends on how confident you are with your servers in that case. So when it comes to the actual advertising for like social media, it's probably best to start really small no matter what you're advertising there, like a simple $5 a day budget, and then increase from there as soon as you start seeing like positive results in terms of not necessarily people buying ranks, but people joining.
I gotcha.
So it's all about testing, basically.
Yeah, and something I've talked with another guest before, and I've talked with some staff on my own server, is how advertising can have different intentions, right? Like if you hire a YouTuber to promote, maybe you start off with a smaller YouTuber so that you can do a bit more stress testing, right? So the purpose isn't necessarily to get a lot of new players, but to the stress testing, those are very different intentions for the advertisements. What are some different purposes for advertisements that you think that server owners should be aware of, besides just getting new players who are going to purchase ranks and stuff?
Well, there's, like you said, there's the stress testing, which for those who don't know, that's basically, in this case, does your server crash with 50 players, does it crash with 500 players, like seeing where the limits are on your server and testing it out under a lot of stress, which is players. And so another way could be if you're launching a new game mode and you're trying to generate hype around it, you could target like YouTube ads on similar game modes. Like let's say YouTuber is playing a game that's similar to the game one you're making, then you can target it there to try and get more players to join the new game mode. And so, there's a few different ways you can go about advertising. It could just be trying to get people to join, trying to optimize it so you're specifically targeting people who are like similar to people who have purchased ranks. And then you can also target it just to try and get people to join a new game mode, like I said. There's a few different ways you can go about it.
One question I should have asked you early on that I didn't ask you yet. What is your server about? Or what kind of, you mentioned kit PvP. So are you going to be doing more kit PvP or mini games, survival? What's the focus on your server?
So ProMC used to have kit PvP, 1v1s, and survival games as the main popular 3 games. We had a couple other things, but those were the big 3. And so right now we're trying to appeal to the current audience that we have. And so we have kit PvP and 1v1s. We're not planning on adding survival games right now because survival games with like 4 players isn't that fun. But later on, we're going to be adding other PvP type things. Like we're a PvP minigame server. And so we're going to be mostly focusing in that direction. We might add some survival type stuff in the future, but for now we're just focusing on things like UHC and stuff like that.
I see. How important is it that you plan out which like the rollout of these different game modes and activities that players can have on your server?
I'd say it's very important because if a server or if a game mode is launched and there's no one playing it, aside from an announcement or a Twitch streamer joining or something like that, it's typically always going to be empty. So if you have an empty survival game server and like one player joins, they see there's no one there, that it could leave. And so it's important that we released 1v1s and kit PvP at the start, because not only do the players like it and they're familiar with it from the old ProMC server, but you only really need 2 people to play those games. And so if the launch didn't go incredibly spectacular and there's only a couple of people on, they could still play. Whereas playing survival games or UHC or something like that does not work with just a couple of players.
Do you have any thoughts for server owners who are interested in launching a minigame server on how they can plan that out properly without running into that issue like you just described of players leaving because there aren't enough other players to make the games fun?
Yeah, I mean, that problem is something that is probably one of the biggest reasons why Minecraft servers don't work for new servers, is because you need a lot of players for players to want to play. And so why would they join your one-player server to play something when they can join another server that has thousands of players? And so you kind of need like an initial jump start. Like you need players for people to play, but players only play if there's players there. And so it's a difficult problem to deal with. So like getting a Twitch streamer to stream or a series of YouTube videos near the start and have the YouTuber talk about how they're going to be actively playing on the server to try and get their fans to become more active. That's a good way to do it, but it is definitely a big problem for smaller servers who definitely don't have a large amount of resources, like thousands of dollars for YouTubers or anything like that.
Gotcha. How can smaller server owners advertise their servers if they don't have much of a budget?
Voting is probably the best option, and then also just genuinely becoming friends with the community. Any player who does join, treats them very, very well. Don't just treat them like some other player who joined. Because a community is the reason why people are going to stay. Like advertisements can get people to join, but if they don't like the community, they're not going to stay. I would say the community is probably more important than the games you have.
Really? The community is more important than the games that you have?
I mean, to an extent. Like if you just have horrible games, of course that's not going to work. Games are still important. But, you know, all the people who joined the Discord, we got 370 in 10 days. That was because they were an active part of the community. It's not because like they specifically missed like a specific hit on Kit PvP.
Do you think it's more important to build that community and the relationships with those members, or more important to advertise to get a lot of new players and hope that they stick around?
I feel like neither one should be prioritized over the other because both are very important. Mm-hmm. In a perfect world, your advertisement would send people into the community and then they would stick around because of that. However, that's a perfect world. I think you need to focus on both as much as you possibly can and try and get them perfected, and then try and get to that point where the community is growing actively and people aren't just joining from your advertisements and leaving, because that's obviously just a waste of money. But, you know, you need the community to be strong and your advertisements to be good as well.
Since you got started in 2013, 2014, how has the average Minecraft player changed? Like, what's different about them now compared to then?
Probably how picky they are. I don't remember them being as picky as they are. Like, a lot of servers are still supporting 1.8 through 1.13 because the PvP has changed and they don't like the 1.9 PvP and above. And so, you know, if there's any mention of possible upgrading to the later versions on some of these PvP servers, including my own, everyone's just like, there's like a riot that breaks out in chat. It's just, no one likes it. And so I don't remember them being that picky, but that's probably the biggest thing I've noticed.
Why do you think that is? Why have people become so picky?
Well, I mean, part of it is because, I mean, I don't really believe that 1.9 above PvP is that great, because they kind of, Mojang said that, you know, this is the PvP for that many years. With like the original PvP is like how combat is done on this game. And the players who actively played this game became used to that. And so if you completely change the basic fundamental part of the game for most of the PvP servers, then people feel like they're not really playing the same game. Like, not entirely, but they probably kind of feel like that. And so it's just so different. Like, you know, all the good players who were just clicking as fast as they can now have to like time their hits, and it's just a big change. So it's not necessarily them being directly just more picky now. It's probably the changes that Mojang has made for these specific type of servers.
I've heard a lot of talk about how server owners are forced to use 1.9 or 1.8 instead of upgrading to the latest server versions. Do you think that that's true, that they are kind of in a bind where they have to use those version numbers?
It depends on the type of server you have. If you're a creative server, then certainly not. If you're a survival server, then it depends on what your community wants. For a PvP server, then I think absolutely yes. Because like I was saying, even on my own server, I mention anything about updating and then a riot forms in chat. Like some players just do not like the later versions when it comes to the combat system. So it just really depends on the type of server you have.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, that's a super good point, and that's really fair because if you have, like myself, I have a survival challenge server. I don't need 1.8, and my players are not the types of players who care for that. So I guess going back to your original main point, if you're listening to your players, then you're going to have a much better chance of success.
Yeah.
How do you define success for yourself and Opal Gaming?
It's obviously going to be different for everyone, but I would say right now, like running a community and running the server and all that is a lot of fun. I genuinely enjoy it thoroughly. However, there's a huge tipping point whenever you're able to support yourself off of it, because then you can become a full-time server owner versus doing it on the side and not be able to spend as much time as you would like on the server. So it's mostly like a huge milestone for me would be being able to support myself off of the rank purchases and all that. And, you know, it's not all about the money. Like I said, I do genuinely enjoy all this, but having the ability to like pay all my bills from this would help me spend a lot more time on it. So I think that would be the biggest milestone for success for me right now.
And you genuinely believe that there is still that opportunity for server owners to make a sustainable income?
It's harder now, but as long as you still have the attention of the players and you're providing a product and service that they like, then sure, it shouldn't be impossible.
Cool. Very cool. Before you started Opal Gaming, or not even Opal Gaming, before you started Pro MC years ago and started working with Sunday and Kermit Plays, you know, and all those YouTubers, what do you wish that you would have known about being a server owner all the way back then?
It's a lot more work than it looks like. And also, if I'm trying to grow a serious server, then treat it like a business and don't treat it like a hobby and spend as much time as you can on it. That's probably the biggest things right there.
When you say that it's a lot more work than it might seem at first, what are some of the things that surprised you? Like, what are some of the hardest aspects of running a server?
Well, when I first got into this, I was thinking I can just make some plugins and then players will join. And obviously that was like back in 2013, and that is not how it works. There's a lot of aspects into actually making the server successful, like advertising, for example. If you don't treating it like a business, like I keep saying, then it's not going to be anything more than, you know, a couple dozen players at best.
All right, Alexander, I've only got a few questions left, but this is all such great, solid info, and you have been rapid fire just plowing through these questions. It sounds like you really know what you're doing and what you've got planned. Can you tell me what's the hardest thing that you found about building and keeping a loyal player base? You know, there's a lot of work that goes into running a server in general, but specifically, what is it that is difficult about keeping people excited about the server and staying active and engaged?
I think that, you know, players have options. And so if you're not providing a great experience for them to stick around, then there's a lot of other servers that have a lot more development resources and, you know, a lot better games than you do. So the main thing is making them feel welcome and trying to get them like finding the players that like the game modes that you have and trying to get them like to play the games actively. Like the whole concept is building a community that is actively on, where you can consistently have some number of players on every day, is probably one of the hardest things to do. And so there's a lot of aspects of why that is, such as, you know, like I was mentioning, you have to get the players that do enjoy your game modes. You have to make it so you're better than the competition in their eyes. And that's just a very difficult thing to do. You have to get it exactly right.
Yeah, you know, something that I, again, have thought about quite a bit in the past is how even though plugin development can be difficult and there's definitely challenges that are involved in developing plugins, it's easy for another server owner, even if you have a unique plugin, to copy that unique plugin and the gameplay features that are in that plugin. So, you know, just to emphasize and say I agree with that point, you know, even if you have custom developed plugins, I would personally say that that is not enough. You have to be involved in your community, because at any moment somebody else could pop up and recreate those plugins and your server is no longer unique, and now you have a competitor who has the same features that you do. So I mean, would you agree with that? That having custom plugins is not the most important thing to be focused on, and that's not a foolproof way to keep your server unique as compared to the competition?
I mean, yeah, there's plenty of successful servers that don't have any custom plugins, and so it just depends on the gameplay experience and what you're providing for the players that are on the server. So like custom plugins do help if you have a unique idea, but if you're using a custom plugin to recreate factions, which I have unfortunately done before and did not work out well, then it's like it doesn't really mean anything to the players. Like the players aren't going to join just because your plugins are custom. They're going to join because the gameplay is unique. And so often custom plugins do mean that you have a unique gameplay, but it's just making sure that that actually is a fact on your server.
Gotcha. Are there any game modes or play styles that you think that Minecraft server owners in 2018 should not be focusing on or banking on with their servers?
Really not sure. It just depends on what your players want or don't want. Like, for example, right now, a lot of my players want survival games because there's no fantastic survival game server right now, according to them. And, you know, Supremacy used to have survival games, and that was one of its biggest game modes. But it's just difficult for me to justify adding survival games at this point where the games would only have like half a dozen players or so. So it just really depends on what your community wants and doesn't want. I don't think there's no like general rule like stay away from this game mode or anything like that. It just depends on your community.
I really appreciate that answer because, you know, I'm a member of the Spigot MC forums and a bunch of different Discord servers for server owners and some other forums as well. And I hear all the time, you know, the quote unquote veteran pro server owners saying things like, you should never open a faction server, you should never open a kit PvP server, never open a survival or creative server. And that's always bothered me because I don't, you know, personally, like if I love kit PvP, I don't care if they say that I shouldn't open one because that's what I want to play and that I have friends and I have community who wants to play it with me, you know, then that's what I'm going to do, right? It all comes back to, is that what you want and is that what your community wants? And not like, are the trends showing that factions don't work or kit PvP or survival doesn't work or whatever? It's all about what that community wants and what's going to keep them engaged. So I appreciate that answer a lot. Okay, guys, this is a little bit of a strange moment because I need to cut in here real quick. After the interview was already over, Alex had another thought that he wanted to bring up, and as he was describing it to me, I was like, this is gold, and I want you guys to hear it. So I'm going to just let him talk for a moment and give his perspective on a couple more things.
Yeah, so there was a couple questions about the different mistakes you can make, or to avoid, I mean, and also how to be unique. And so one thing that I wanted to touch on was it's not just the plugins and the game modes, it's also the maps too. That's actually a mistake I made, is using publicly available maps, even though they are publicly available. There's a lot of like fine print somewhere in there. We have to still contact the author. So that's something that we're actually doing with Opal Gaming now, is making sure that we have direct permission from the author, or we're just creating our own maps. So it's not just the plugins that you should be worrying about on it being unique. It's also the maps as well as the whole gameplay experience, basically.
Yeah. No, that's solid. And you were mentioning something else about in regards to copying other servers or copying other plugin features and all that. And you said that that was something that you used to worry about, or you used to be, you know, to do. Can you go over that again?
Yeah, I mean, every single server is going to have someone copying it. And one mistake that might seem like the correct choice because everyone's playing on a popular server, and so you want to try and emulate that. But if you copy a successful server, it's not, like in any way, whether it be the game modes or the maps or whatever, it's not going to really work because the players who are on that server are already part of that community. You need to be at least a little bit different, hopefully a lot different, and have a good, unique gameplay experience for there to be reason for them to leave the server and the community that they're already on to come play on yours.
Yeah, that's a really great point. You know, if you're trying to get that specific player base and that group of people who is already active on another server that has the same features, you're going to have a really hard time with that because they have no real reason to leave. But if you can entice them with unique features and they come for the gameplay and the unique features, but they stay for the community. They stay for what they are able to be engaged with, whether it's with the owners or the staff or the other players. So come for the gameplay, stay for the community, and stay for the competitive nature of it, or what have you. I think is definitely a good way to put it. And I've heard another quote from a YouTube consultant. And they talk about, you know, creating YouTube channels, and they've said kind of the same thing, that every YouTuber is copied by someone else, or is being copied by someone else. So they say different is better than better. And so the point being that just because you think that you're better, you might have a better kit PvP, you might have a better factions, but if you can tweak it in such a way that it's not just better, but different, then that's going to raise some eyebrows, and that's going to get some people looking at you and coming over from those other servers. So really interesting stuff, man. Did you have any other last thoughts there before we head back over into the main set of the interview?
No, I think that was it, actually.
Then, guys, we're going to back over into the main interview. Sorry for interrupting. Do you have any advice for brand new server owners? Just any thoughts for those people who are interested today in getting their servers started? What is something that you can tell them to either encourage them or help lead them on the right path?
So for the people who just want to start a server with their friends, the main thing is just have fun. But for the people who want to grow a server that's going to have a lot of players, you know, do a lot of research on advertising, not just paying YouTubers, and also do a lot of research on, you know, how to actually form a business in the state that you're in or the country you're in, and just a lot of research on how to actually run a business. Because if you're trying to create that, then that's what you need to actually treat it as. But for those who are, you know, just have a small community and just wanting to have fun, the main thing is just to have fun with that.
That's cool. And, you know, you've just given me a thought that I probably need to have somebody on this podcast sometime talking about taxes, because taxes is something that probably very few server owners think about when they are starting up their servers for the first time.
I didn't think about taxes at all. And then I realized it was a very important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. This is a question that I ask every guest that I have on the island. And our room here is looking quite nice. It is large enough to put a storage system somewhere in here. So great job on that. But this is my last question, or I guess second to last question. And it's the big one that I ask everybody. Is Minecraft dying?
I don't think the game itself is dying, but a lot of people who are saying it are people who are in parts of the Minecraft community that might be dying. For example, like we said earlier, the 1.8 servers are forced to stay at 1.8, and so they feel like they have a lack of innovation. A lot of their players are leaving. Some of the big PvP servers have recently shut down. And so to those people, it might seem like it is, and it might easily be, but the game itself as a whole certainly isn't.
Do you have any thoughts on what Minecraft server owners can do to help keep our communities, like as a whole, the Minecraft community as a whole, thriving and less dramatic and less Minecraft is dying, you know, quoting those words all the time? Is there anything that we can do to keep the health of our Minecraft world alive and strong?
Keep producing great content that players like and are willing to play. Because it's not like you're just competing with other Minecraft servers. You know, there's other games like Fortnite and stuff like that you're competing with, because you're basically competing for the player's attention. And so if they're distracted playing another game, they're not on your server. So it just depends on creating great quality content that keeps players engaged and on the server and playing.
That is a fantastic last bit of thoughts there, and one that hasn't been touched on this podcast at all, but I love it so much. We aren't just competing with other Minecraft servers. We are competing with gaming in general. Like all other gaming studios, we are in that same boat. And I would say for myself, I'm trying to treat my business, my Minecraft server, not just as a business, but as a game studio. So I'm, learning as much as I can about game studios and, what the structure of those gaming companies is. And that's how I'm treating my server. Would you tell me that you agree with that approach? Do you think that that's a good thing that I'm doing here?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why we changed the name from Pro MC Games to Opal Gaming is that Opal Gaming does not have MC or craft or anything like that in it. And so we're trying to treat us as a gaming related company which has a Minecraft server as its first product. And so we're just trying to grow a general gaming community where they play other games like Fortnite and Overwatch with the Discord as well, and then possibly servers and other games in the future. And that's the whole company there. And so yeah, I do agree that treating it as like a game studio probably is the correct approach, because you're not competing with just Minecraft servers. You're competing with other games for your players' attention. That's the main thing that you're trying to get here, is your players' attention to be on your server and not playing Fortnite or some other game.
That's really brilliant. That is, I love understanding now why you named it Opal Gaming, and love hearing that advice there. So, Alexzander, hey, this has been a phenomenal interview. You have really rocked it with giving some great stories about your experiences and also sharing some tips for my viewers and listeners right now. Can you tell everybody how to contact you personally and how to follow you online, and then also how to contact and follow Opal Gaming? And I know that you guys just launched, so if you have a website or an IP address or anything that you want to shout out, could you just let everybody know that right now?
Yeah, so the IP for the server is mc.opalgaming.com. And then for me, myself, I'm on Twitter as AlexzanderFlores, but it's missing the last E because Twitter has a character limit on usernames. And then we have a Discord for the server as well, and there's a lot of active people in that. And then the server itself has a Twitter, which is Opal_gaming.
Cool. We'll put all of those links down in the description below. Alexzander, thank you again so much for being here today. This has been a real pleasure chatting with you. And, maybe a few months from now, you just got launched. Actually, here, let's do one more question. How do you feel about the launch of Opal Gaming's first Minecraft server?
It's pretty good. There wasn't hundreds of players at all, but of course that's not really expected. But I really like how there's a consistent player base. We typically have around 20 players, even though we just launched a couple days ago, but we always have at least 20 players on during the weekends, and I'm assuming after school hours as well. So as long as we have a consistent player base, then we can move forward from there. So I would say it's doing pretty good.
Excellent. That's fantastic, man. I'm really glad to hear that, and I look forward to checking back in with you here in a few months and seeing how it's still going. Maybe we'll even have you back on the interview island. We can do a little bit more work down here around the Nether portal and see what other things you might have learned or thoughts that you might have for those who are listening in. But thanks again very much, Alexzander, and thanks to all of you as well for tuning in today. It has been a great time. You guys know, I love making these podcasts and interviewing fantastic people, server owners, and talented creators. And this episode is definitely no different. If you enjoyed the episode and you're watching or listening on any of those podcasting stations, please do subscribe, follow, leave a comment, or even on iTunes, you can leave a review, and definitely on YouTube as well. It would be great to see you around in the community. Chatting and talking with myself and other server owners and the people that I interview here on the Interview Island. But thanks so much for watching today, guys. It's been a great time, and I look forward to seeing you all again next time. Peace. All right, guys. So my recent guest on the Friends of the Server podcast, Interview Island, has asked me if I wanted to get a little tour of the brand new Opal Gaming Minecraft server. And since it just launched a couple of days ago, I could not pass up the opportunity to show you what is on this server. So I'm going to hand it over to Alexander, and then I'm just going to follow him around and we can see what the Opal Gaming Minecraft server is all about. So Alexander, where are you? Oh, there you are. So what do we got going on here? This is beautiful. I love those roofs.
Yeah, this is something that I actually had made for an old server of mine, so I just recycled it for this one, and everyone seems to like it so far.
Yeah, this is great. This is great. And we are on mc.opalgaming.com, and if you guys want to join, you can now, but you have to be on versions 1.8 through 1.12.2. So you can't be on 1.13 just yet, but it's easy enough to switch your versions.
We do have a normal parkour course that's trying to be made for like a wipeout style, but that's under development right now. If you click on endless parkour, and then walk forward, basically there's platforms that spawn in front of you endlessly, and so it's kind of like a nice thing to try whenever you're just talking to people. And these spawn behind you, by the way.
So you got to keep going.
Just keep going. Yeah, and it just spawns in front of you. So that's some of the hub stuff. And then we do have kit PvP if you want to click on the compass.
Yeah.
And then click on the iron sword.
Yeah, because I'm terrible at parkour. Oh man. Nice. Do I get to select a kit?
Yeah, come click on this right here. This zombie over here.
There it is. Okay. I got it. I get it. Okay.
And then these iron frames aren't set up yet, but this will show the top 3 players in the server, and that'll update like every 5 minutes.
Very nice. We just drop
it. Just aside from that, it's just a standard kit PvP.
Nice, yeah, and you actually have quite a few players on here for just being a couple days old. That's pretty sweet. I'm getting wrecked because I'm terrible at PvP. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm done. I'm bad at Minecraft. I'm a pro Minecraft player, guys. Nice. And did you build this world specifically for this server, or was this used in the past too?
This was actually, aside from the spawn, the actual map down below was something that ProMC used to have, and a lot of the players liked it, and so we did a poll with the community of which map to bring back for KPVP, and most people wanted this one, so that's what we have right now. But this spawn was changed.
Yeah, I'm getting wrecked over here. I think I think I need to move on because this is not working for me. Oh my goodness. Yeah. What other features are up here? So there's spectate, CPS detector. What is CPS detector? Yeah,
just spam left click it and it'll tell you your clicks per second.
Oh, that's pretty dope. Oh, I've never seen that before. That's pretty sweet, actually. Very cool.
Yeah.
And then load auto regen passes. Oh, I see.
Yeah, so these basically, if you vote, you get a certain number of these, and what happens is whenever you kill someone, you automatically get the regeneration effect. So it tries to prevent people from cleaning you up, and so that's one of the voting perks to entice people to actually do /vote.
Very cool. Yeah, I guess, and then that's that free way of being able to advertise your server. And it uses something that people will actually use, auto regen, after you kill somebody. That's pretty useful.
Yeah.
Very nice. Kill streak selector?
Yeah, if you have 5 levels, which is what you get from... Actually, you might have 5 levels automatically from joining. But yeah, this will give you a random kill streak. So you got slime time, so if you jump down over here, you should have like a slime ball on your hand.
Yeah, I do.
Alright, come jump down over here. And then left click it away from you. So that slime gets bigger and then eventually blows up. So those are a couple of different unique things that we add in.
That's sweet. That's sweet. So that's on a timer, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Cool.
And you can use the kill streak selector once every 5 levels and you get a level per kill.
Does it take your levels away?
It used to, but then we realized that you can't actually go back to the spawn without dying. So now we just like a kill streak probably isn't the most proper term, but it's what we have right now.
I got you. That's cool. Right on. Anything else you want to show?
So one thing that's unique about these 1v1s, which there's no one on here right now, is that over here, if you look at this elo system, it's not based off of, you know, just getting a certain amount of elo. It's based off of percentile. So the top 1 to 5% of players are always the highest rank. And so this way it's never top heavy. And there's like a natural rotting system that doesn't feel too bad. So if you're not playing for a while and you're in diamond, someone could pass you in elo and then you could get bumped down to the top 6% of players instead. And so this keeps players to keep playing, you know, encourages them to stay on. I'm not sure if this is loading for you.
It is.
But
it is. I actually see it. Click to view your rank.
Yeah, clicking doesn't work yet. But if you just type in chat, you should be able to see it. I am the worst rank because I'm horrible at PvP.
Oh. Platinum. I'm in the top 18%.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, baby. I'm the best. I haven't even done anything yet.
Yeah, as more players join, it'll bump the default players back who just joined.
Yeah, for sure.
But right now there hasn't been like, you know, hundreds of people joining, so.
Right. This is pretty cool though.
And that's pretty much it.
Very nice.
Yeah, the top 3 players will be on these as well.
Yeah. Just like in the kit PvP area.
Yeah.
And you've got some different leaderboards here. Well, hey man, like this all looks really fantastic. I like how everything is very consistently themed. You don't have...
Yeah, that's something that was important to us.
Yeah, there's not a lot of craziness, you know, even with the colors or, you know, the build styles, the build palette that you use. It's all very consistent, which is great and makes me feel like I am somewhere that the owners have an intention. Like it's not just, you know, throw it all together and see what works. Well, it's all pretty fantastic, and I wish you the best of luck, sir. I hope in a few months I'm going to come back and there's going to be 1,000 players on here.
Hopefully.
Cool, man. Well, hey, thanks again for showing me around, and I guess that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Later.